Welcome back. The Fed says almost 1,500 illegal immigrants now off the streets, more than half of those people charged with or convicted of serious crimes. The arrest happened during the past month in, surprisingly, Massachusetts.
Significant amount of the criminal aliens that were arrested by the teams were drug traffickers, sex offenders, murderers, and foreign fugitives trying to evade justice in their home countries. It's long past time to remove these dangerous criminals from our communities. What we need to do is prevent them from terrorizing family, friends, and our neighbors.
Let's bring in Jonathan Fahey, former acting ICE director and former federal prosecutor. Jonathan, did it surprise you that this all went down in the state of Massachusetts?
Not really, because Massachusetts has been basically fighting ICE every step of the way, both at the state level and local level. So they really needed to take some massive action to get rid of these illegal aliens that were committing serious crimes. And what was one of the most alarming things about the director's news conference was how many of these people were in local jails and released out into communities, as opposed to adhering to ICE detainers, which would have kept the community much safer. But it really is shocking how bad, when Director Lyons talked about one of the biggest impediments to arresting illegal alien criminals is not all the other things they usually deal with, but was the state officials standing in their way, which is really shocking and appalling.
If you think about the politics of some of this stuff, the broader issue, right, about illegal immigration, you have Democrats on the far left moving even farther away from the GOP right now. Take a listen to Congressman Ayanna Pressley over the weekend. Want to get your reaction.
It has nothing to do with public safety. This is just about a targeting, a cruelty. We stand here today and call on ICE to stand down and leave our hardworking community members alone. These shameless rogue agents are not welcome here.
What's your response?
You've really seen the ratcheting up of defamatory comments about ICE agents and law enforcement in general by the Democratic Party. It almost seems like it's a standard talking point now, which is really shocking. And it's also surprising that you would think after the last election, there might have been a move to sort of to the middle of the Democratic Party, but the party really seems to have gone more extreme left, and they are in favor of open borders, mass amnesty, and fight every deportation. And each one of these things is really just a tactic that they're using because they want to keep all the illegal aliens here and encourage more to come in. But it's really shocking that public safety for the Democratic Party really seems to be an afterthought, and it certainly was during the Biden administration, but it's even gotten worse now because they've really condoned essentially defaming law enforcement and even assaulting law enforcement in some cases.
I mean, there are some Democrats, some key Democrats, moving towards the GOP. Take a listen to Senator Fetterman.
I thought the border was really important, and our party did not handle the border appropriately. Look at the numbers. 267,000, 300,000 people showing up at our border. And, we can all agree that's roughly the size of Pittsburgh. Now, that's unacceptable, and that's national security issue, and that's chaos.
Hard to conceptualize, right, that he and Pressley are in the same party.
Yeah, it really is. And you notice how John Fetterman is now on the outs with the Democratic Party, and it's because of, I think, a few of the positions he's taken that haven't been in line with the far left. So, it's hard to, you're right, it's hard to believe they're in the same party. But again, she's the mainstream of the Democratic Party. This is, again, one of these 80-20, and with criminally illegal aliens, it's probably 95-5. And the Democratic Party is standing with 5% of the American people, and the Republican Party and Donald Trump are with the 95% that are prioritizing public safety over politics. And it really is about time, especially when you saw what happened in Colorado just yesterday. It's put public safety first, deport people that are putting American safety at risk, national security at risk. It's very simple. It's very common sense. But again, it's surprising that these sanctuary cities are really doubling down and these Democratic politicians are really doubling down.
It is a common sense message. I don't know that I would call Ayanna Pressley a mainstream Democrat, though. But Jonathan, thanks for taking time with me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.